Okay. Welcome everybody to the 6th Town Hall, or 51st Advisory Board, depending on which one you're looking at. So we thought this evening we would open up the normal Advisory Board meeting. So this is sort of the usual time frame that we would have an Advisory Board meeting. We'd open this slot up to the wider community as well, just in case anybody else in the community wanted to join. So the way these usually work is we'll give some updates. So we'll share some information about what we've been working on, anything that's been released recently on the platform, anything that we might have coming up that we might want to work on. And then you guys have an opportunity to discuss it with us, give us any feedback. And then obviously you guys can all discuss amongst yourselves. And then later on we'll also have an opportunity for you to talk to us about any issues or questions that you might have about the platform as well. So that's the general format that we'll go for. If you're just joining, then we'll go through our updates first, and then later you'll also have an opportunity to ask questions and any feedback. But generally, these advisory boards are a bit more, you have the opportunity to discuss. So if you have questions and you want to give us information, now's the time to do it. It's a bit more informal, so you can also discuss with each other. It's a bit more like a sort of a roundhouse meeting, as it were. So this evening we've got some the key points from us that we'd like to discuss are recent updates to the marketplace, along with so that includes sort of updates to the SiteBuilder module, which is not obviously site-wide, but then also simultaneously updates that we've done to the marketplace. So Luke's going to share a bit on that very shortly. But one is about how you can create themes and templates and utilize the SiteBuilder module, the point and click approach they've used without actually having to build it all yourself. And the other is now that you are able to sell your own modules on the marketplace as well. So we'll take a look at those. And then recently, for anybody who doesn't know, we obviously did the automations release as well. So we'll go through some information on that and also get some feedback. So we're interested to hear if you guys have been using it. If so, what for? How have you gotten on with the automations updates so far? And then we have a sort of end of year Black Friday surprise as well. So I think many of you will have had the emails by now, but we'll take a look at those as well. So Luke, are you ready? Can I hand over to you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Hi everyone, good to see you all. As Martin said, this is meant to be just really not a presentation, more informal, a great chance to chat and get any feedback. So feel free to jump in at any point, ask any questions. Can you hear me okay? It's a little jumpy. Yeah, good. Just shout if not. So in the last few advisory boards, we've been looking at the automations release that was probably a month or two ago now, and looking at improvements there and getting feedback on how people have been getting on with that. I'll very briefly show it for anybody that isn't used to it. I think with everything tonight, I'll try and just quickly show something quickly, and then you can have a play around with it separately if you want to. But for anybody that's not familiar, I'll do a very quickly show it, and then we can talk through any points there. So can you see, hopefully you can see my screen okay?
So anybody who's not used this before, just click the watch stream button as well, and then you'll be able to see Luke's screen.
Thanks, cool. Yeah, so we've got a new feature called automations, which allows you on various different places in the platform. You'll now see a tab called automations, which essentially allows you to control triggers and actions based on what happens in the platform. So the two standard ones that we had already, but we've now put into the automations area, is an autoresponder when a front-end item is created, so a case when the form's submitted, and the workflow email as well. But now you can actually do more and build your own. So if an item is deleted, or again, if an item is created, you've got different actions that you can take, such as sending out a different email, doing an API call off to somewhere, or creating a custom action and writing your own logic for that. That's available in modules, web apps, orders, products, and a few different places. So we'll keep expanding that as we can. Just to give another idea, if we just go somewhere else and have a quick look, if a new blog post is created, for example, under module structure, you would see automations, and you'd be able to select your trigger. So if an item is updated, let's say, you might want to take a certain action. Yeah, I think that's probably a place to leave that for now. We really want to adapt this. This is a hugely powerful tool, and it kind of takes some understanding in terms of what you could do with it in terms of client projects, but it really opens up the scope of automating processes for customers. And one thing we're looking at, and hopefully have some information on soon, would be integrations within this area. So actually being able to connect it up directly to a number of different apps within here, and being able to choose what you want it to do. Zapier-like trigger and actions, but also two-way sync to things like CRMs. So stay tuned for that one. We'll keep you updated, but that could be really powerful. But in the meantime, I'll just stop sharing quickly just to come back to Discord. Has anybody got any sort of feedback, questions, ideas, anything like that on automations in general? I know time is always tricky with when you're busy with client projects, but I think a few of you guys have been able to play around with it a little bit. Any particular input or questions?
You did mention orders there. Is that something that has come through now? Have we missed something, or?
I wondered whether I meant orders. I guess that's.
I wondered that as well.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody can jump in and correct me or clarify, but so obviously on orders you've got the case itself, but no, perhaps not. I don't have e-commerce installed on the one I'm demoing. Should we just talk that through, Nick, in terms of what you're really looking for? Okay.
Yeah, we just need we just need a kind of trigger on a flow. So, for example, effectively, if somebody changes an order status from kind of order to dispatch, that we can then trigger an automation that sends out a kind of dispatched email. And then, obviously, if something's delivered, we can put delivered in it. Once we've got a tracking number, we can put that in there as well. Obviously, that will require a custom field as well. But yeah, that was that last piece of the puzzle from our point of view that we really need for a number of the e-commerce guys we work with.
Yeah, I think custom fields in general on any area in the platform is another great way that we can extend what you guys can do. But yes, I'm just installing e-commerce in the background actually, so we can have a quick look at that. But
I did the same when you mentioned it. I was like, oh, is it there? I'll go and have a look.
Right, let's have a quick look. Because this is something we've talked about. We were trying to understand the use case internally, but I'm going to share my screen because I think there might be good news on this one. Let's have a look. Can you see my screen okay? Just shouted not, but I'm in orders, and in the module structure we do have automations, but it's on create, you probably mean, or is it on update, Nick? Do you know?
Sorry, I'm muted. Let me just jump in there. It's quite small on my screen through Discord. That's the only challenge I have with Discord. Let me just shuffle that one down.
Yeah, you can pop out. If anybody else wants to, in Discord, apologies if you see loads of windows now, but there's a pop-out button at the bottom right that should allow you to see more. Let's see it in a bigger view. But yeah, under e-commerce.
Yeah, so I've got so we can do a trigger, but that's based on, so if you just click on the drop down for trigger.
Mm-hmm. Item update, not create.
Okay, yeah, so item update would work.
Mm-hmm.
in theory. And within the we have got a because I don't deal with it day to day anymore, so I'm kind of being led by what the guys say. So we have got a field in there for order status, haven't we? Which we can then.
I was going to quickly try and do an order, but that'll take a bit longer. But I believe so. You've got status here, and I believe you can then update that now. That was a feature a little while back. So in theory, you should be able to do the automation based on the status change. Also got custom fields, so you could handle that there if you wanted to.
Yeah, we could put the status in there if we needed to. Cool. We'll take it away. I'll play with that in the morning and come back to you.
Sure. Hopefully that's a good example of what this can. Yeah, yeah. Hopefully a good example for anybody who's new to this. We can just run through. Yeah. Run through those kind of things and hopefully troubleshoot something pretty quickly for you guys. So, and hopefully gives you an idea of what can be done with automations. That's something now that hopefully your team will be able to map out different processes that the customer needs. Anybody else got any sort of experiences with automations or any use cases that would be worth discussing?
I think I might have already shared my one before, but we used automations to automatically update products in MailChimp when the customer updated. It was a yachting website, so whenever they updated one of the yachts, they wanted the product information, or if they added a new yacht, for that matter, to automatically be available in MailChimp, so that they don't have to manually add in that product, and all of the data was carried over. Unfortunately, due to a limitation in MailChimp's API, they actually have a description field, but for whatever reason, that's not used anywhere in the MailChimp application at all. So we had to move to an alternative. So we're currently investigating Klaviyo, but while it was up and running, it worked flawlessly, and it was essentially exactly what the client needed, apart from MailChimp obviously not using that description field.
So imagine that was using apps, was it, to update based on a web app?
Yes, it was web app items. They had it all in web apps. They had new yachts and used yachts in there. Yeah,
just to clarify for everybody, it's on CMS forms, it's on modules, web apps, and e-commerce. So you can go into a web app, go into the module, the structure of the web app, and there you'll see the automations tab as well. And there you've got quite a few different triggers. You've got anything that happens from the admin as well as the front end. Because with web apps, there's different ways that people use them. So you can do quite a few things there, quite a few powerful things.
For instance, something you could probably do with this is, say if you had an approval flow for customers maybe listing, maybe they had a product on your website, for now obviously using web apps, or maybe they wanted to submit a blog post. You could, in an automation, set some parameters for that item. You could then send an email to a relevant person based on the information put in there, and have some custom buttons that would then redirect back to the site, and then update or approve or something along those lines.
Yeah, and you can do multiple automations for each trigger and action as well. So it's hopefully pretty flexible already. I think there are definitely some areas we know we can extend it for you guys. One would be able to do some logic before sending out an email. It's almost like these two combined, where in here you could write some logic and then send out an email with data in it as well. I think that would be a pretty powerful addition.
Sorry, Nick, I heard you mention my name earlier, but I don't know if it's my internet connection or not, but I couldn't quite follow what you were saying.
Oh, I was just saying you might be the person to know about the order automatus on a status change.
Yes, yeah. I mean, theoretically, what you could do in the meantime is go to a website called cronjobs.org and set up a repeating cron job maybe for every hour that hits an API endpoint that checks for status updates, essentially.
Right.
and then you send out.
So isn't because I've just had a quick look through, and we need that, as Luke just mentioned, that little bit of logic in there, because an order update doesn't necessarily mean a status change. And obviously there'd be maybe 5 status changes, and that would require 5 different emails rather than just a generic order update email. So we do need a little bit of logic building in there, and that's
Your other option there might be, rather than use the email, use the custom, but actually send out the email in the custom logic. Obviously, it would be much nicer to be able to just use the standard email bit, but it is definitely possible to write that into the custom area. This is completely free to do any kind of actions.
Okay, we need to do a bit of investigation and testing on that one. Definitely.
I think, as always, we're in a situation at the moment where we're trying to make everything possible and then make it easier. There will be some things that still aren't quite possible, and I think the more feedback of use cases we get, the more we can solve that. And definitely in terms of easier, somebody might even come up with a way to do that and share that code in the Discord sort of snippets area or forum area or something. So it's a lot of things are possible now with the introduction of automations, but we definitely need to hear where people are hitting limitations.
Yeah, cool.
Good. Okay. We've got a few other things to cover, so I'll probably leave automations there for now. Hopefully anybody who's not used it has an idea of what it can do, and if you guys think of anything that you're struggling with, feel free to bring it up at any point. So next up would be Marketplace. There's quite a bit going on here, but I'll try and give a sort of very quick overview. I know some of you guys have seen this a few times, so I'll try to be brief and just try and show the main recent updates. But I'll share my screen again. In fact, I'll try and share one thing. I think either. Sorry for that. I don't know if somebody was trying to say something. You guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, I'm not sure if you can see us or not.
So what was that? Sorry, just checking you can see my screen and hear me.
We can, sorry. We thought you could see us, but you can't. Sorry. Yes, we can see.
Thanks. Cool, awesome, thank you. So very quickly on Marketplace, just a high-level summary. I don't know how much everyone's seen of it over the last how many months, but in Portal, you can go to Marketplace, and within here, there's various different categories. Themes, templates, and modules are the main ones for now. Just to sort of cover it quickly, a theme is something that helps you design and helps us standardize things as well. So the main ones at the moment are Bootstrap 1, which is run off the old Studio framework that we had, and that's just a Bootstrap theme that allows you to use those layouts, but also people to collaborate on top, and they actually work inside SiteBuilder, which we'll be showing shortly. And then alongside that, we've got Flowbyte, which is a third-party design system. They're a great team building out a really cool design system from Figma all the way through to code and blocks. So those are the two ones at the moment. We've actually got another partnership that started with a company called Creative Tim. You might know them. They do a whole range of different templates and themes and design systems. I know a few you guys that use them. So that's something that can be brought in as well. As a base point for themes, but then where it gets really powerful is being able to do templates on top. So if we just have a quick look at templates, basically anybody can do this. You guys can do this. You could take one of the themes or even start from your own and build out a site, and then essentially using the site copy feature, you can create your own template that can be available in the community either for free or paid. We've got new paid modules process that's just come out, I'll talk about shortly. So essentially, you could create your own. I know somebody wants to build like vertical sites, vertical templates, or you could do specific functionality, or just anything really, any kind of template that people would install. If you click one of these, it creates the whole site from scratch. It just does a site copy and puts all of whatever you have on that template into a completely new instance for people to use. So that's a really powerful way to speed up development, and also potentially to build a business from and charge for, either on a one-off basis or a subscription basis. Quickly touching on payments, you can, if you go into a module, you should now see the payment details tab, and you can click take payment. And what you do there is you connect it up to your Stripe account. That's done under your agency settings. You just go to your agency area and put in your secret Stripe key, and then you'd be able to decide what type of payment to take. So whether it's user only or agency wide, put your product ID in, and then you can control who has access to it. So essentially, if somebody buys your product, it would add them to the access list, or you can do that manually. And in the marketplace, it would obviously update in terms of, it would only show to people if it would show a payment form, or it would show if they've already paid for it, and then allow them to install it. Please do jump in if you have any questions. Yeah, so the third type is modules. So you might just want to build, say, a gallery or something like that. So there's obviously the standard ones at the moment, but people can build out any kind of modules you want and sell them or offer them for free. And then what's nice now with the link into themes is, as long as you base things off a standard theme or make them available for all the themes, then things can work together nicely. I think the best thing to show that kind of combines all of that is something called SiteBuilder. So again, apologies for the people who've seen this quite a bit, but there's a tool to help you build sites more easily and faster. I'll give a very quick demo of that, but essentially you can install that module, or you can start from one of these templates, and very quickly within a site, go to the SiteBuilder module. That's all built using a custom UI, so it looks like it's part of the admin, but you guys can have total control of this area and build out any kind of application if you wanted to, and offer it out to either customers or agencies or whoever. You can create a template. So this UI helps you build things on SiteGlide. This is building a page template you normally have to do manually, and it will let you pick things like a dynamic menu to hook it up to footer, for header and footer, sorry. You can create your templates, and then you'll see your list of templates here. Next up, you'd then be able to quite quickly build out pages. So we called it test. You'd be able to pick the template that you want to use and throw in a mix of static and dynamic layouts. So let's just put in a few really simple layouts here. Another static one. There's a whole range of Flowbyte layouts and library that's available. The free one, and then if you have a paid version of Flowbyte, they would appear as well once you've got that module. And quickly, let's just look at a dynamic module. This is where it gets really powerful. You'd be able to use SiteGlide functionality even from custom modules that you've installed from the marketplace, as long as that module owner has set it up to work with the theme and SiteBuilder. So you'd see in here any custom modules that you've got installed. And we can output a blog onto the page. You can even customize some of those settings really, really easily. And another really powerful one is forms. We'll just drop that onto the page. So here we have forms. You can pick whether it's which layout you want for the form and the form ID. So I'm just going to pick the contact form. And all of that ready, we'll just create that page. So that's done all the code behind the scenes to set that up. It's even going to notify you whether you've got any dynamic modules that need any layout setting up. So you might want to make sure that you've got the right layout and template set up this is already telling you what's set up, you might want to go there and look at those. But for now, we'll just view the page. It's just loading up. So there you go, it's created the page using the template header and footer that was set, and still just loading some of the styling. This runs off Tailwind, so you do have a way to run the styling, the styles essentially really in a performant way using caching, and then on the first load it would take a little bit longer. But yeah, there you go. So you've got the blog layout there. What's really nice with forms, and do recommend people playing around with, is the fact that you can put this form on the page and then you can go and edit the form in the back end, and it will automatically update without you having to go and change the layout. For anyone that's sort of familiar with Business Catalyst or anything like that, it was obviously a bit of a pain to have to do that. But if you add a new custom field in here, we make that a drop down of 1, 2, 3, and click save. We go back to that page. It's now updated the form automatically, which is a real time saver and nice feature, especially if clients are getting involved in managing the site. Yeah, so that's a very quick run through of SiteBuilder itself. There's a lot going on there, quite a few things that are coming with it. So you have an area as well for installing layouts. So again, you'd see any custom modules in here. You can go through and install just on a layout specific basis rather than having to use Page Builder. You might just want to set up one particular layout, and you can pick between the different themes that you have installed as well, whether it's Bootstrap or Flowbyte, whatever it might be. And this will just keep growing as Flowbyte grow their library and as the community build their own additions to it in the marketplace as well. Covered quite a bit there. Yeah, covered payment of modules as well. That's the newest thing to let everybody know about. A couple more things while I remember. So yeah, we have a partnership with Flowbyte where we're able to work with them to get all of this into the product as well. I know a couple of you signed up to their pro account so that you get the Figma file and access to all of the different layouts. Something worth mentioning is that they have just released their design system free of charge. So you've got the Pro, which has all the blocks and the extensive library, but they do have their sort of base design system available free of charge in Figma. So if you wanted to start from design to code and see how rapid that is for development, you can have a play around with that for free before upgrading. Yeah, you don't even need to. You could work from the free one. It's just the pro version will probably save you a lot of time. Yeah. Lastly on that, I appreciate I've covered quite a bit on this. I thought I'd just show a very quick example of this in action. So here's literally the Figma design file, the pro version, which has been set up specifically for a client, work through the project process with that client. The client's actually been in doing a lot of the content themselves once the core design was set up. So this is all using Flowbyte components that have then just been styled to suit the client's branding and imagery and content. And quite often, it depends how every agency works, but actually getting the whole site mapped out and even prototyped using Figma can save a huge amount of time in development. But because all of these layouts also exist in code and exist in SiteBuilder, it massively speeds up the project process. So you can get the design team going through with the clients and getting the design mapped out, and then obviously the handover to development is so much quicker because what we do is go through and use Page Builder and layouts to piece together the various sections. We'll do another update probably in the new year on that whole project process and being able to show it as a bit of an example. Right, talked quite a bit there, quite a bit to cover on marketplace in general. Any immediate feedback? I think a few of you have been sort of using SiteBuilder maybe for the first time or really getting stuck into it, as well as Flowbyte. Any particular feedback?
What you showed about SiteBuilder app, that's available now, very first.
Yeah, it's available. It's free to use. Yeah, it'd be great to hear more feedback and have people using it.
I installed. It looks like I've got 3.22 installed, so 4.1 is the newest one.
Yeah, you definitely want to use 4. I'd recommend if you have version 3 on a site, on a live site or a site you've done a lot of work on, I'd probably do a brand new site first and install SiteBuilder, just so that you there shouldn't be any material change, but it's probably worth just working from a new site ideally.
Okay.
Sorry, one thing that would change is templates. Templates are now run off the marketplace, so yeah, I'd definitely recommend using a new site. There shouldn't be any other. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't see the templates in the version I have, and then I'll suddenly see these templates. I'm like, oh, I recognize what that means.
Yeah.
And then the Flowbyte, how much is that for the Pro version?
$259 from them directly. We don't get involved in that. So yeah, $259 one-off fee.
Right. Thanks.
I think it'd be interesting if anybody has some feedback on Pro versus free and their experience. Don't know if anybody does.
Yeah, we're just building our first site using it, and much more of a learning curve than, well, not much more of a learning curve, but it's a learning curve. Yeah, I guess we're going to use a lot of the, where we save our own templates out. So we kind of, a lot of the Flowbyte templates, they're very restrictive in terms of kind of things like the height of the logo goes in and so on and so forth. So we're going to build our own modules out from, much more in line with what we designed. So yeah, being able to save our own modules within the platform, which are effectively amended Flowbyte modules or Tailwind modules, will be a thing. But yeah, still kind of early days in terms of putting it together and getting it tested through and seeing how it performs in the real world. But certainly in terms of speed of build, it's a lot quicker than what we're traditionally doing.
Good to hear. Are you doing from Figma, or are you just doing the code side?
So the one we've done so far, we've just done the code side, because it's actually quite a simple site, so we didn't really need that Figma flow. But actually, kind of building that Figma flow in for more complicated sites will certainly help. That's for sure. Yeah, I guess one of the things that we're going to really struggle with, we've always been very much bespoke, so trying to get the level of design that we do into that into the Tailwind and the Flowbyte designs is going to be interesting. And I think at the moment we're probably looking and thinking, well, we'll probably stick with pretty much custom headers and footers. But one of the key things we were looking at Tailwind was just that ability to allow customers to create their own landing pages quickly and easily, or for our team to create landing pages quickly and easily without having to get designers and developers involved. The non-techie guys can just pick the layers, change the images, change the text, and away they go. And that's going to be a real boon for our marketing customers to be able to do that much quicker and much more off the cuff according to their requirements, rather than kind of coming to us and waiting a couple of days and getting a bill at the end of it. So should be helpful.
Sure. Yeah. After we finish chatting, I'll show a little bit more on that actually. Just I think do you mean customers building out pages in the Studio Editor or potentially in the Page Builder area? I guess it could be
in the Page Builder, to be honest. Yeah, they're more likely to go Page Builder, I think, at this stage. But either is simple to use, so they can start with one and then move to the other, can't they? So it's not it's not difficult.
Yeah.
A couple of challenges on the we've seen on Page Builder, which I don't know how fixable these are, but things like when there's SVGs in there and they kind of come up on Page Editor as rather large. I've seen that a couple of times. So, from a user point of view, it just looks a little bit, that's not, you want to see a full WYSIWYG, and it's not quite, but maybe that was just a one-off that we've hit.
That's interesting. We did have that problem generally with Tailwind, because Tailwind is compiled sort of separately. But what we've done in the Studio editor is now compiled everything, or so that you have a full version of Tailwind. So it'd be interesting to see why SVGs perform differently. But yeah, definitely something we can look at.
Yeah, or maybe I'm just assuming that was the case. But yeah, we've definitely seen it. We haven't investigated it. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
Because we can go back to code, so it's not pressing. But when I saw it, I was like, okay, that will be an issue for people using the Studio editor in Page Builder.
Yeah, but yeah, we definitely want people to be able to see how it should look, and we've already solved that on the code side. It'll be things like images.
Yeah, it may be that preempted. It was probably a week or so ago, so maybe you've kind of resolved that since. Yeah. But if I see it again, I'll send a link through to you to have a look.
Yeah, thanks. Same to everybody, really, especially if you guys are new to Discord or that side of things. There's a whole channel for SiteBuilder. Any feedback at all, please. It can only help us, so feel free to check any feedback in there.
And Nick, a question from Helen for you is, Nick, do you see, I don't know where the feedback's coming from, do you see an advantage, Nick, in using Flowbyte versus Bootstrap as a framework?
Difficult one to answer insofar as we didn't really use Bootstrap to any great extent. So we did use Bulma, which we've only been using for a year or so, which is obviously very similar to Bootstrap. And it is literally just the fact that it's now built into the system. We've got these modules ready to go from a SiteBuilder point of view. So that's our main reason. Nothing wrong with Bootstrap, and you could build that in. It's just the fact we've got the design modules within Flowbyte ready to go. So just gives a chunk of work at that point.
Cool.
To sort of add to that, Helen, I guess we're not trying to say Flowbyte is the right route. It's just the one we've gone for now. With the Creative Tim partnership as well, we're working the similar way. They've got a Bootstrap one. It's more about the work involved in getting all of that in and getting all the layouts available. So the community's able to do that. I think you might be one way or the other, and it shouldn't really matter from an experience perspective. It should be down to what code base and framework do you prefer. The experience in SiteBuilder should be the same as long as the layouts are available. Hopefully that kind of clarifies the vision, at least. We're definitely not trying to push that you have to do things on a certain framework.
And on the Bootstrap, so Helen, I know you liked using the Bootstrap theming template that we'd created in the early days of SiteGlide. That's been moved to the marketplace, so you could continue using that if you wanted to, or do what Nick has started doing, which is customize and make your own, I suppose. Facing the same challenge, Nick, need to create custom headers, etc. So custom layouts. Yeah, so you can do both. You can still create your custom layouts and use them within either the Page Builder, or you could integrate them into the SiteBuilder module. I think, is that right, Luke?
Yeah, I was just going to pull that up quickly. That's something I haven't actually explained, because we're trying to be realistic. At the moment, it's probably best to explain how to use SiteBuilder before we do too much to explain how to build modules and things onto it. But if I just pull up my screen, Helen, you're talking, I think, about the layouts area in Portal, being able to extend there. But one option will be to add layouts to SiteBuilder yourself. So as a contributor or an author, you can add content into SiteBuilder and in a theme or module. So there is documentation on how to do that, and that would then make those things appear for you in SiteBuilder rather than having to do it the other way, the Portal way, and they would only appear in Studio. So probably worth looking at this at some point, but I appreciate for everybody you might want to get used to using it before you extend SiteBuilder. Just to clarify, what we tried to do is try to look ahead and try and make sure that this can grow and everybody can work together. And what I've really tried to avoid, and why we went down the sort of studio route in the first place, is that things can work together. You want to be able to install the X module and have a layout that works with your site and your design. So the concept is either have a Bootstrap theme or a Light theme or a whatever theme, and then have the corresponding layouts and modules and everything that works with that. So it's fully extendable. It's just everybody's time in terms of getting those layouts in there and making them available, and whether people charge them or not. Yeah, I think we've answered those questions. Hopefully, do any more questions in there if you need.
Awesome.
Any further feedback on SiteBuilder itself or Flowbyte or any of those kind of things?
We'll be sharing some more information as well in terms of docs to support the whole process, because there's been a number of updates to Marketplace. So if you haven't already gotten started, now is a really good time to do it, because everything is in place and ready for you to use.
Yeah, a good example of that that Martin mentioned is the docs for payments on modules will be coming out later this week, I think, or very soon. It is available, ready to use, but the docs are a little bit behind. So if anybody is wanting to sell modules, you can look at that. You can ask for help in Discord. Yes, Alan, we'll get a doc for payment very soon. But as always, just reach out if you want to use it before then. Cool.
So I think...
Yeah, so I think next up... Go on, Martin.
I was just going to do the same thing, so I think that leaves us with one more thing before we open the floor up, doesn't it?
Probably a couple. I wanted to briefly touch on Menu Builder. We'll be releasing a bit of something on this to discuss with you guys, but essentially we want to try and brainstorm exactly where to go with menus for next year and what we're working on at the moment. We've tried to scope out where we think we could take it, but Nick, we've discussed it with you, and a few other people have sort of raised feedback and improvements to Menu Builder. It is probably one of the oldest features of the platform. It was one of the first things we built. There's quite a few different things that we want to do to improve it, and we don't just really want to improve it, we want to reimagine it, I guess, and get it right. A couple of the things there, at the moment it uses database structure, so it's usage, it takes up usage for every menu item, things like that we want to change, run it more off a JSON array of data, but we also want to bring in dynamic content so that you can properly manage putting web app items in there, module items, categories, that kind of stuff, and hopefully go quite a bit further with it so that you can either automate the build of that or at least interact with it. So you might want to pick from a certain web app in a certain category, but then be able to customize it afterwards. So it needs quite a bit of thought. We'll send out our plans on it so far, our ideas, for you guys to get involved and try and help us carve out the right route. Anything to add to that, Martin?
No. I'd just say so far they've probably been there a while. I haven't actually looked at the dates today, but we had a couple of tasks on the roadmap for improvements to Menu Builder. But as Luke says, we're looking to sort of do a bit more of an overhaul. So we're taking on board, and I know from the advisory board you guys have given feedback at various points along the way about how we could improve it and make it valuable to your clients. So yeah, not just the structure, but the UI and sourcing the data and making it much more connected to the rest of the site, I think. So I don't know if anybody has any. So I mean, we could go through everything that we think that you all want, but maybe if anybody here tonight has anything about Menu Builder that you think, hey, if you could just do this with Menu Builder, it'd be great. Are there any areas where you go, if our clients could just do this with Menu Builder, it would make all the difference? Any feedback like that? Anything that that you'd like to sort of put into the pot while we're doing initial planning? And then obviously we'll share more in due course as well.
Not on Menu Builder, but I do on forms.
Right, okay.
I'm just wondering how difficult it would be to include some sort of feedback. I think that's one thing that I can see would be very useful, is if there's some sort of feedback, in terms of, I've had a couple of different client sites where they've pressed the submit button, and it just sits there, and it just sits there, and it just sits there. And on one, I did install the sort of, progress situation.
Yeah.
But all that does is just move a slider. It doesn't say, like, no, there was a, 404 error, this resource couldn't be, whatever. For them, there's no error message for a customer to come back to us with and say, hey, I was on your site, tried to fill out the form, but when I hit submit, it gave me error code X. There's no option for that right now, kind of thing. And it would, I guess, to a certain degree, probably be more helpful in figuring out why the form failed there so that we can troubleshoot that correctly. Because right now, I'm at a loss. This has been a problem. It's a recurring problem that I haven't been able to solve because I don't know where to start.
Right, okay. And have you, so on that form or multiple forms, have you tried switching to the default layout? So if the form is technically submitting and your any custom verification you're doing has passed, and it seems to be just sort of not submitting properly, have you tried switching to the default to see if you achieve the same result? So
I have not.
Okay, so that would be my first point of call. I'm not saying that we shouldn't improve error messaging. I'm just saying, yeah, if you get stuck, that would be... So if somebody comes to me in support and goes, right, well, I'm having a problem submitting it, I always switch to the default and see if you get the same result. Typically, what I found is if any forms are not submitting properly, like if it just hangs, then usually there's something missing from the layout. So there's some sort of data, maybe there's a couple of hidden fields that are maybe just not quite right. That's usually the go-to. But yeah, I hear you. I think I haven't looked at it.
It's not failing all the time permanently. The form works 98% of the time, 99% of the time it's working. There's that small, instance where one or two customers every once in a while will say, I hit submit, and the form just hung. And in one instance on a client site, it's on an e-commerce form. What we've noticed is that when they hit submit, it's sending the data to Stripe, and it's charging their card, but it's not completing the process to generate a workflow notification. So then the customer refreshes the page or goes back out, they go through the process again, it submits a second time, and now their card has been charged twice. That's like a actual scenario that I still am having a hard time figuring out.
Right, okay. All right, well, what I would suggest is for that, so if you could submit a ticket with the details of the form and maybe one or two examples of where it hasn't properly submitted, and we'll get engineering to look into it and see what we can do about that. Because yeah, it shouldn't be doing that, obviously. It's not something I've heard as a widespread issue, so hopefully it's something we can just take a look at and resolve for you. But yeah.
Sure.
I'm sure it's something we can solve.
Yeah, definitely the best. Definitely the best bet. Forms obviously there's multi-step processes, and it sounds like perhaps something is stopping it getting to the next step. But yeah, the default route is always a good thing to try. But definitely do log a ticket with us, and we'll look into it.
DJ, I'd recommend installing Full Story onto your site and enable network sniffing. And see the network requests when they happen, and then inspect if anything's gone wrong with them. Obviously, that means you can view them without actually being with your client.
Gotcha.
I'll pull that up just to show what Josh has mentioned there. I believe there's a free plan that you can use just to really go over. It's called Full Story, and it's analysis and tracking for you to see what's going on customer sites.
Yeah, I use Full Story.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's a free plan. I think that's why Josh has recommended it. Computer's struggling, it seems.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Josh. Thanks for the tip.
Yeah, no worries, DJ. If you need any help with it, just reach out and let me know.
Will do.
While we're on other topics, Helen asked about what we were just talking about in the marketplace. Is it possible to group modules in payment? I don't believe that's the use case we've covered at the moment. I know you've got quite a lot of modules that comprise the group of them. So no, not for one overall. That's something we'd need to look at with you. You can do subscription on them, which I know you're looking for, but no, not. We've not grouped those yet. I'm just thinking, sorry, there might be a way of doing it where you can verify, so you can have a core module that you can have subscription to, which then provides a key to the others, perhaps. I'm sure there's a way. Yours is a bit more, you've done quite a complex array of modules, so we'll get on the call and we'll go through what you need and see what is possible with the payment stuff, because Matt's not finished documenting yet.
I think probably our recommendation there for now, and marketplace is pretty complex as it is. Our thinking of how you do this is either you would sell modules individually, or you would have a master module and then a custom UI, and within the custom UI you could manage giving access to additional things from there perhaps, but it does start to get a bit tricky when you've got multiple features. So always just discuss with us and see if we can help or add in functionality later.
Cool. And then on Menu Builder, we've had a little bit of time to think. I don't know if anybody's got any suggestions of things and improvements that we should be making to that. We're in early stages of planning on it, so any feedback you give now will be put straight into it and will be very useful.
I think custom fields would be my number one thing.
What metadata essentially on each item?
Yeah, essentially. Just being able to set these are the fields that I want on all menu items. So this image or this icon or something or this code snippet, but to be able to add custom fields like you do in web apps essentially.
Yeah, if we want to try and move away from using records and data, so I guess that would just be data within the JSON array or something like that. So I guess we'll need to think that one through. But thanks. As I say, we'll definitely release something where we can collaborate on this better and get some feedback from you guys. Just in a chat from Helen, plans details on the essential plan. This is a wonderful foot in the door plan. I mean that probably is the only thing we had left to talk about. I want to make sure that everyone gets time raising a thing. And this is not a sales pitch either. Just wanted to let everybody know about it at least, and also get feedback in general on the pricing side of things. I think the reason for this, just to sort of preface it, we sometimes get feedback from people that our vision, our message is that we always want you to be able to say yes to any project and not hear that you couldn't put it on SiteGlide because of X. And sometimes the reason is that sort of entry price point, because maybe it's a good client, but they only need a landing page at the beginning, and obviously they just don't need records or whatever it might be. So we tried to come up with this sort of essential plan that allows you to just build sites, static websites. We do have a plan called static, which doesn't help matters because it isn't that. It's that still has data in there. So we tried to come up with something that really just bare bones storage. What would it be? All the essentials you get with this sort of enterprise grade infrastructure, not taking away any of the security, reliability, all that kind of stuff, performance, but just not including the records and other higher uses of email and things that you might want to use on bigger sites or sites with more site-wide functionality. So that's the concept, and we're trialing it at the moment because it's something we need to kind of see how it works, and it's obviously a bit more of a volume model. So at the moment we've just offered that as a sort of Black Friday introduction, just to test the water, on the 10-pack model that we've always had, and making that effectively $8.25 per month per site, so that you've just got a way to get people on board and potentially upsell them to functionality later. I'll pull it up quickly. If anybody, as I say, this is just more to answer questions. If anybody had any questions, and always just in general on these advisory board calls or feedback calls, just to get an idea of what would be beneficial, whether this ticks those boxes, and what else we can do. So I'll just pull up my screen and let you guys ask away if you have any questions. Can everyone see that? It's just a 10-pack deal, essentially.
Yeah.
If you can. If you've not seen it before, I'll let you read it while we're talking, but does anybody have any immediate questions or feedback or thoughts? It might not be suitable, it might not be something that people need at the moment, but we're just trying to make sure we can tick that box. And if you do have those kind of projects and sites, hopefully this is a helpful way of allowing that. One last point actually would be that it does actually work for any project, because obviously with the way we always do 10 packs is that you keep the discount even if you upgrade. So it could work for any of the other plans. You still get the discount. It's just a nice way to get people up the food chain, essentially, and get them started. Yeah, any questions, let us know. I'll just leave that up there for a minute while we carry on talking. Oh, I can't actually see that.
Oh.
Sorry, DJ.
Seems reasonable, sure. I just don't have a need for it at the moment.
Sure, yeah. I think the main thing for us is understanding whether it's the right solution. Timing isn't. There's no urgency from our side. We just want to try and get it right. So we thought we'd introduce it. Hopefully, it solves the problem that we were trying to solve. Obviously, more specifically, the plan itself rather than the deal.
Gotcha.
Cool. Any questions from anybody? I'll just have to close this and come back. Stop sharing. I was just reading the chat. Cool. Yeah, well, I mean, we've sent out the information. If anybody has any questions, just drop us a message, and we'll get back to you on that one. Good. I think sorry.
Want to hear Nick's list?
Surely you've already had my list just during the session. A very concise list. I'm trying to behave myself a bit more now.
It is getting shorter.
Yeah, I mean the modules, the menu module. I think Luke's just reeled off my list. I've already provided the list, so.
Yeah, I think being able to pick dynamic items is probably the most important for you, or hopefully the most important.
Yeah, pick it and then kind of filter and organise according if you've got 500 pages, so they're not just in the latest page at the top and the oldest page at the bottom, that type of thing. Search, filtering, all those once you get onto the bigger sites. So,
yeah,
you've already got my list.
Yeah, I think once we get functionality right, really understand what we want it to do, we can get the UX, obviously we can overhaul the UX to make it a lot easier to use. Cool. The last point, just on the essential plan specifically, one of the other reasons for that would be to help coincide it with something like SiteBuilder. So if you're able to build out even the landing page kind of sites that you were talking about, Nick, or build out small sites, or even just more affordable sites, because of the development process being so much quicker, we hope that having a plan that at least enables that would be beneficial. We'll keep playing around with it at our end, and hopefully it can be something we can release as a sort of more normal plan. But at the moment, it's on the 10-pack offer. We are considering whether we could release that as something like a 3-pack offer instead. So if anybody had any more of a need for that, let us know. It probably wouldn't be quite as good a deal, but that's something we could look at. That's just let us know if you have any questions on it. I guess the last one that I've thought of before handing it over, and I haven't actually discussed this with anybody, is a bit of a vote on whether people would value a end of year sort of call it probably needs to be 2 weeks time realistically, or a new year call where we can talk about what we're going to do. Any preference, any kind of high level there, or feel free to put it in the chat.
I think it would be nice to have a wrap up for the year, all the changes that have happened during the year. It's sometimes hard to keep track of everything, so I don't know how others feel about that, but it would be nice to do sort of a wrap up for the year.
Sure, cool.
Is that of interest to anybody else?
I can second that.
I said agree. Yeah, Michael and Bob, you both agreed. Cool, okay. Good to know.
Didn't you say the topic would have been like what partners are wanting to do or are working on doing or thinking about, or that kind of thing?
That I said, sorry, DJ.
Yeah. I thought you had said would any of you find value in having an end of year or beginning of year call about what you are wanting to do or working on, or wanting to work on, or things you've been thinking about working on, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess I just meant more about whether you'd like to hear from us again or have a chat again this year or early next year. The topic can be as free flowing as it normally is. Really, we would try and do a wrap up as you've suggested, Alexandra. So yeah, we can get some feedback from you guys on what to put in there. We could try and do a high level summary of what's happened in the year and what's coming next year, before doing obviously more calls next year.
Everything's moved. In fact, it's only when you review the videos you put together a year ago that you then think, oh my god, it's completely changed. And you do then appreciate how much SiteGuide have done over the last year and a half. But yeah, I just thought it might be an interesting thing as a group to have a chat about how we market SiteGuide, how we position SiteGuide. I know I don't do anywhere near a good enough job in terms of positioning SiteGuide and differentiating ourselves from the WordPress developers, as Helen mentioned the stats on WordPress. But yeah, I think we can do a lot more, and I just wonder it might be a useful session to do, to get kind of a group of us together and talk about either what we currently do or what we could do or what would be useful to put together and maybe share as a group. I'll put that out there, and maybe one for the new year to have a think about.
So do you mean in terms of like specs and capabilities and that kind of thing, like how secure it is, the details on its security, the redundancy, the actual
potentially, or just how we get out there and talk about it. And yeah, I'm sure there's things that people do in this group that not everybody does that might be useful, and equally there might be some things in there that we all think, oh, actually that'd be really useful if we did, like the if there was some kind of white paper on security. I mean, to me, it's so black and white, isn't it? It's, the 1-0 with it, a bit tongue in cheek, but actually it is, SiteCloud hasn't fallen over, to my knowledge, and WordPress always falls over. But there's going to be something along those lines, isn't there? And some bits that we need that might be helpful to in terms of us attracting prospects, quite simply. Because we do just come against WordPress, don't we, I think?
Yeah, just quickly from me, this is something that we're always trying to do, and we're definitely not doing well enough, and we need to provide you guys with that. I think one of the biggest ones we could start with, other than the summary, is things like SEO, performance, security, those kind of things, where they're kind of the fundamentals, really, and there's a lot to talk about there, especially with the sort of new Flowbyte, even for SiteBuilder route. So that's something I know we want to talk to any experts about, and maybe bring people together in their specific fields and tools and content together on it. But yeah, just even having that high level snappy summary of the key points and how to market it. So I would love to do that, and it'd be great to get actual hands-on feedback from you guys, project specific examples. We definitely haven't done enough of that. But yeah, over to everybody else as well.
Hey, you guys ever seen do you know who Brett Weaver is from
Yeah.
Business Catalyst days? Did you see his WordPress versus Business Catalyst video? This was many years ago. That might be something
Yes.
you're talking about. I mean,
Yeah,
when I watched that, I used that to sell Business Catalyst to clients all the time against WordPress.
It was on a whiteboard. You did it on a whiteboard?
Yeah, and he goes through and he basically shows of all the updates, the plugins. And I have 2 clients that use WordPress. I hate WordPress. But they, there's nothing we can do about it. And it's just something like that, I think, is what you're talking about, Nick. And that would, something short and sweet that could give the community just a really nice summary of why it's the features of the site and so on.
I find it real interesting how people will staunchly defend WordPress too.
Oh yeah,
it's like, really?
It's so popular, that's why. And then the illusion is, oh, it's free. I can build a website for free. Why do I want to pay you money to do it? And then, you check back with them. Well, I had to update this plugin and pay money here and do this. And then I had to hire somebody who was a WordPress expert. And now, my website's costing this much. And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
We did like a PDF on the cost of free a while back on the cost of free WordPress, and by the time you've got some hosting and the security plugins and all the other things that you need, the cost is actually and any kind of maintenance on it, the cost is pretty astronomical. So we could definitely do more on that. We obviously don't want to, from our perspective at least, we don't want to slate WordPress. You can get it right, but there are definitely some points we can all get together, I think, on why not to. Or, sorry, how SiteCloud means you don't have to do all those things. Cool. Yeah, so something like that then. Would you guys like to see maybe? Do you think this is a good format for that? And we have a topic for these, or would anybody like to sort of see specific workshops for that kind of stuff? Do you think?
We maybe allocate some time in one of these to have a quick open discussion about what we want to cover, and then go from there. So maybe if we can allocate some time in January for the next one, that would be, or December if it is the next one. But yeah, might be useful.
Cool. Sounds good. I think we can then obviously use things to work collaboratively. I don't know if you guys use FigJam or something where we can then collate information and work together offline as well. So cool. Anybody wanted to raise anything? Any burning questions, frustrations, anything like that? Good to hear. No, I'm sure there's always things. So just reach out on Discord at any time. Hopefully, people are finding Discord useful. Personally, I'm really seeing it's great seeing more of a community engagement side of things on Discord. Hopefully, you're getting the same experience, and potentially even people helping each other. That's nice to see as well. So, yeah, we're always here to help. Martin, anything else from you?
No, I think we covered everything. Yeah. All sorted. So, yeah, if anybody does have any further thoughts or feedback, of course, just follow up after the call. Drop a message in the Discord and we'll include that in planning.
I'll send a link out to the free Flowbytes design system for Figma. I'll send that out in one of the channels, the Flowbyte channels later on as well. Thanks, Helen. Commenting on the SiteBuilder chat. Had these for a while actually. Still got the old logo, annoyingly. Have to get some new ones.
Cool. All right. Well, in that case, I think we should probably wrap things up. Thank you everyone for joining. So yeah, as we said, if you've got any other feedback or after the call you think, oh, actually this would have been really useful, just send it over to us because we take on board all the feedback. And we'll send out a bit more information about the menu builder and documentation for the various updates that we've done recently as well and discussed this evening. So thanks all for joining, and we'll be in touch about the next meeting. Thanks all.